Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, we've got the football podcast. We're talking games from last week. We're talking all the football news you could possibly want. And this week, more games. And by that, I do mean more games. The number of games are ramping up, and we are here to cover all of the games for the upcoming week. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Big one being share that podcast. Share that podcast around. If you've got a football fan in your life, send them this podcast. They might appreciate it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for those watching on YouTube, you may notice that I appear to be sat in a different location to the previous weeks. Now, as Mr. Cook described, it does look as if I'm sat in the boardroom, as it were, which can only mean that one of us has obviously been given the dreaded vote of confidence and has been called in for a meeting where obviously our services will be terminated. Unfortunately for me, it is me, and I'm having to terminate myself. No, sadly that is not the case, ladies and gentlemen. You are stuck with me for at least another week. Welcome on in. It's your weekly football splurge from a Middlesbrough, Hull, and Nottingham Forest perspective from us here at the CookieCast Podcast Network. As per usual, I can't do it all by myself. I'm joined by Messrs. Cook, Moore, and Woodmansey. How are we all this week, gents?
Good. All right.
I like.
We'll jump in with the Week 6 games that occurred last week. The first of which took place on Friday, and as we discussed last week, all three of these games were on Big Boy Live, Sky Telebox. So the first of which was Friday night, Stoke City versus Hull City fixture. Now, would it be safe to say, Mr. Woodmansey, that this was very much a game of two halves, in which the first 45 minutes was the epitome of Hull City season up to this point, and I'll let you fill in the rest.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I am very pleased to say that the new manager bounce didn't really work for Stoke, did it? Hull did have to do it the hard way, though, and they came from behind to win their first game of the season, 1-3, effectively. As Paul said, the first half was the same old story, all of the possession and approximately nothing to show for it. Stoke should have probably been down to 10 men as well after 11 minutes when Gibson decided that the best way to challenge for a corner is by forearming somebody in the face to the ground. The referee not only missed that and didn't give a red, but he missed it and didn't give a yellow, which was an absolute disgrace. And I hope that more than a week later, or by the time that the next game comes around, more than a week later, he's still in a quiet room having a word with himself somewhere, because probably fair to say the referee didn't have his greatest game. However, we will get to the referee a little bit later on. So yeah, unfortunately, Wilmot gave Stoke the lead on 30 minutes directly from a corner, about 2 minutes after Sky had mentioned that they'd had 60 plus corners and not scored directly from one. So yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing going on with the commentator's curse. And I think that was possibly was that the longest? Oh no, second longest streak in the league without scoring from corners, because the team with the longest streak on that front is that's right, Hull City, and we couldn't score from a corner. But yeah, not great, really not great. As Paul said, it really summed up the game so far. Again, much like the Sheffield United thing, was taking them 3 or 4 passes to get up and down the pitch, and we couldn't even manage to get past our own defence after that many passes. So it was not great. But half time came, as did the substitution. So Liam Miller came on at half time, and fair to say that just that substitution was looking like it was going to change the game. But then it threw into the mix as well Casey Palmer and Regan Slater. The first goal was created from a Liam Miller ball in to the box. Chris Bedia headed it, and it pretty much didn't go goalwards at all. Went straight up into the air and fell to Balumi, who was brought down in the box. Now, there was a little bit of confusion around the time of the penalty because the referee Blue pointed to the spot, then went and had a chat with his fourth official. Nobody really knew if the penalty had then been rescinded or what the hell was going on. But it turns out, winding it back, that there is no doubt that the foul on Balumi was an absolute stonewaller. He was late. He went down in the box. Slight hint of offside from Chris Bedia in the build-up, which was missed. And again, but the referee hasn't got the, luxury, if that's the right word, of VAR, considering all of its cons that it's had. But they called what they saw on the night, and for once, we got one. It did get given then as a penalty, and Casey Palmer stepped up to try and score his first goal from the penalty spot. He didn't. The keeper dived right, pushed the ball out, except for that went kind of up into the air. And whilst he didn't score from the penalty, Palmer did indeed score a header from the save from the keeper. So that made it 1-1 on 63 minutes. Shortly after that, well, about 15 minutes after that, Miller recovered the ball from a Stoke clearance in their own half to set up Regan Slater on the right-hand edge of the penalty area, and it can only be described as absolutely rifling it into the top right-hand corner. Keeper didn't really stand much of a chance on that one, and Regan Slater's found his favourite ground in the league as he scored there last season as well. At this point, Stoke obviously thought, nah, fucked. And it was pretty much all Hull. 2 minutes after that goal, Casey Palmer was away down the left-hand side, got to the byline, edge of the 6-yard box, and just tried to drive a really hard, low cross across the face of goal. And Wilmot, the guy who'd scored for Stoke earlier in the game, decided that he'd just stand in the way of it, and the ball pinged in the near post from him. So he scored for his own team and for the opposition in one night. But it did mean that, like I say, Hull won for the first time this season, and finished 1-3.
As they say, it doesn't matter how the wins come, just that they come, and this one did. There was a trio of 1-1 predictions on the podcast. Myself, Mr. Woodmansey, and Mr. Mo. Myself and Stuart both gone for Cannon to start for Stoke. Matt had gone with Berger. I had Bedia to score for Hull. Stu had Malin to score for Hull. Matt had Kamara to score for Hull. So no points for any of us. However, again, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andrew Cook, 1-0 Hull City win. 1 point. Sadly, no points for Bedia scoring the goal. So, Andy, after one game, is the only guy to be off the mark. Our second game of the week took us to the northeast, where it was it's not a derby, unless, of course, Sunderland win and then their unwashed, semi-cretinous fans crow about it until the end of time. And unfortunately for me, Sunderland won this one 1-0. So obviously we're going to have to put up with the fact that, they'll be lording it over us for until the next game, shall we say. It started like most derbies do, a little bit hard hitting, bit of blood and thunder. Borough probably should have taken the lead. I think it was in about the 6th minute when the ball made its way out to the right hand side. Isaiah Jones sent the ball in. I can't remember his name. It's Tommy Conway. Tommy Conway was coming onto the ball from about the penalty spot and planted his header straight against the crossbar when he really should have been at least making the keeper work. Borough were on the attack again a little bit later in the half when Emmanuel Latela found himself on the edge of the box, ready to shoot when Tri Hume came in with what can only be described as an absolutely horrendous challenge on the edge of the box. Showed a yellow card, but in hindsight, probably warranted a red. Was reckless, was out of control, was straight in on the middle of his leg. If he'd have got it wrong, there was a possibility it could have been a lot worse for Latela. He was booked. Like I say, probably should have seen red. Middlesbrough did nothing with the resulting free kick. Finazaz smashed it straight up the top. And on the 24th minute, they were made to pay as Sunderland took the lead. The ball was miscontrolled by Luke Ayling in around the centre circle and broke to the Sunderland player. I can't remember. I think it was Mundell who worked it out onto the right hand side. Patrick Roberts got on the ball, managed to cut in on his left hand side as he was doing throughout the entire game. Made our left back look like a bit of a fool. Got it out to his left foot. Took a shot which George Edmondson managed to get in the way of to block. Unfortunately, it's one of those ones where it doesn't go out of the area, stays in the area, and just managed to sort of get churned up. And Chris Rigg manages to get onto it first, almost miscontrolled the ball out of touch, but quick thinking manages to get a little back heel on the ball right on the byline to send it in. Little lovely bit of improvisation if you're from a Sunderland persuasion, but obviously, as I am not, very annoying to say the least. To put Sunderland 1-0 up. Borough had chances to get back into the game, but just no matter what they tried, they just couldn't. They just couldn't break Sunderland down. They got a lot of chances in and around the box, but just had no end product. Aidan Morris was probably the guiltiest of most when he managed to work his way into the box, but smashed his effort wide and to the left. And Sunderland could have added a second late on when Mundell hit the post with a free kick from just on the edge of the box. But it did peter out to a 1-0 Sunderland win, sadly. From a predictions perspective on the podcast, Andy had gone for a 2-0 Middlesbrough win. No points there, I'm afraid. Matt had gone for a 1-1 draw with Mundell and Conway to score the goals. No points there. I'd gone for a 2-2 with Roberts and Mayenda to score for Sunderland, Azaz and Latela to score for Borough. No points there for me. But our new oracle passes to Mr. Woodmansey as he's gone for a 1-0 Sunderland win. 2 points for the result right there. Sadly, Mayenda did not score in his goal, so he just stays on 2 points. Our third and final game of the week took us to the South Coast, where Brighton and Hove Albion took on Nottingham Forest. And this one was also on live Sky television box. How did it pan out, Mr. Moore?
An entertaining game, I think. I think it was like one of them worries after the result last week, beating Liverpool. Then
Sorry, what did you say, Matt? They did what last week?
beat Liverpool last week. I thought it might be a bit like after the Lord Mayor show and all that kind of thing. I think they're a difficult team to play, Brighton, and they just don't seem to miss a step. You know, they've like had 3 different managers pretty quickly after each other, and just seem to keep on going. But I think so. Forest took the lead through Chris Wood from the penalty spot. Hudson-Odoi. It's one of them kind of penalties where it's clever thinking / a little bit of shithousing kind of thing, but also the way he positioned himself, I think if he would have got the ball, he probably would have stuck the ball in the back of the net because he would have had just an open goal. I think it's one of them ones where you're like, yeah, he's put himself in between the man and the ball and he's gone through the back of him. But also, if the man hadn't have gone through the back of him, he probably would have got the ball and stuck it in the back of the net. Anyway, but yeah, Wood, nice penalty. Gibbs White was celebrating. I don't know if anyone's seen that video where Gibbs White is celebrating before he even kicked it. I was like, nice one. Then it kind of went a bit to pot for some reason. Hinchelwood, it was a bullet header. It was a really nice header. Some of the things that I've listened to, people are like, well, what were the defenders doing? I was like, well, it's out. The defenders, both central defenders had someone to mark. I think Aina, who was on the far side, was marking Matoma, and he just made a really good run. The person you're pointing the finger at is whichever midfielder should have been following him into the box. That's the person who you point the finger at with that one. Bullet header, keeper couldn't have done anything about that one. Second goal, however, Danny Welbeck, well-known free kick taker, passed it into the back of the net after the keeper decided to stand behind his own wall. That was decent finish, poor goalkeeping. I think that was that one. Welbeck with the second, and it kind of gone from looking quite easy to being behind just before half time. Then Nuno brought on 3 subs just after, at half time. So I think Nico Williams came on, Yates and Jota. And that seemed to kind of still throw Forest into a bit more kind of chaos. So then he brought on Souza, that seemed to settle things down a little bit. And then, kind of 70 minutes in, quick counter-attack. I think Murillo played a ball to Gibbs White. Gibbs White played it out to Jota, or through to Jota, who kind of unselfishly squared it to Souza, who stuck it in the back of the net for his first Forest goal. Then it was kind of slowly petering out, but kind of the most contentious part of that was the Gibbs White getting sent off for a second booking. At first look, it looked like he got the ball. Yeah, he got the man as well. It's one of them 50-50 ones. Sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's all good tackle, sometimes it's yellow card. I think the worst thing for me was that the referee signalled that he got the ball, and then apparently the fourth official got in his ear and told him to change his mind. And you kind of like, at what point? Someone said on something I was listening to yesterday, if it was the other side of the pitch, that fourth official wouldn't have had an opinion on it. And the fact that you've had the fourth official and the benches jump up, it's perhaps influenced that as to be a sending off, because the referee had made up his mind that he got the ball, and VAR wouldn't have had anything to do with it, and because it's second booking, they can't have anything to do with it. So again, it's a weird kind of situation with the thing, but luckily Forest managed to ride that out. No Gibbs White for this week's match, but 1 point brought home from Brighton, which I think is a decent result.
Very much so. From a predictions perspective, Mr. Cook had gone for a 2-0 Nottingham Forest win, so no points for the result. But does get a point as he had Wood to score. The rest of us each get points, as we all had a 1-1 draw in this one. Sadly, I didn't have any goal scorers with Matoma and Gibbs White. Stu didn't have any goal scorers with Rutter and Anderson, but Matt did have Welbeck down to score. Sadly, Ilanga did not. So for the week, that means that I finish on 1 point from 3 games. Matt and Andy both have 2 points from 3 games, but winning the week with 3 points from 3 games. Congratulations, Mr. Woodmansey. Well played. Well done. Week 6, done and dusted. That just leaves us with week 7 to go through. And week 7 brings with it 5 juicy, tasty games. We will be going through those games momentarily once we come back from this very short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. And just like that, the recording has restarted. The break is over, ladies and gentlemen. So, week 7, 5 games, as we said. 3 this Saturday. We're back to all of our teams playing at 3 p.m. on a Saturday for the first time this season, I believe, which will be a novelty. The first of our games for week 7 sees Nottingham Forest taking on Fulham. Obviously, Mr. Mo's team, he will give his prediction last. I'll jump straight in here as I've got mine written down in the book. I've gone for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. I've gone for a goal each for Wood and Hudson-Odoi, with a goal for Jimenez for Fulham. Stu, what have you got down for Nottingham Forest versus Fulham?
1 each.
1 apiece.
I think Fulham seem to be doing okay. Forest, off the back of that, I think Gibbs White will be a big miss. So I've gone for a 1 each. So I've gone for Elanga for Forest and Traore for Fulham.
Nice. Andy?
I've said it before. These are the games where Forest need to just lock it in. Just nice, simple, clean, elegant 1-0 win from Forest to let everybody know who the big dog is. And I imagine you've already written down my goal scorer because it's that time of the week, isn't it, where I get my wood out.
Well, we've got a bit of a pattern. It's either that it's Wood or it's Hudson-Odoi. Tend to be your picks. So I just leave it blank because I don't know which mood you're in each week. But obviously you appear to be in a Wood getting out mood more often than not. So
yeah, I love getting my wood out.
Well, don't we all? Matthew, how do you see it going for you boys?
I've gone pessimistic with this one. I mean, Forest are unbeaten so far this season. So we've gone 5 games in, we've not lost yet, which gets me worried. The home form's not been as good as the away form. Would be the other thing. 3 wins away. 2 wins and a draw away. Remember we beat Liverpool. And then it's been 2 draws at home. And Fulham are always a bit of a bogey team. We seem to either get absolutely stuffed by them or we stuff them. And I've gone for they give us a stuffing, so I've gone 3-1 Fulham.
Oof. Hefty. Goal scorers?
Hudson-Odoi for Forest. Old boy rule, I think.
Well, he was Chelsea, wasn't he?
I'm not sure he'd been on loan there.
Possibly, you have to go back to it.
And then I've gone Jimenez because he scored a couple against us last season. Smith Rowe because he's been linked with us in the past, and Kearney because he's from Nottingham and was a Forest fan. So, standard.
Now, obviously, that's not an old boy rule for a Forest perspective, but it is an old boy rule for a podcast perspective, as I believe he got his start in Hull, did he not, Mr. Woodmansey?
He did. Old tough tackling Tom Kearney, who would run away from his own shadow when he played for us at times. He got his stripes by the time he left, though.
Turned out to be Championship Player of the Season at one point, I believe, for Fulham. So
their captain as well, isn't he?
He was the captain who captained them to multiple Championship playoff wins, I believe. Certainly one. I don't know if he was captain the second time around. Our second game takes us to Hull, where Hull City are taking on bottom of the league Cardiff City, and for the second game in a row, they will be playing against a team with a new manager or looking for a new manager. And Mr. Woodmansey has something he wants to raise.
Yeah, it's also this weekend that they've chosen this weekend to do the 120th year anniversary celebrations for the club. So they are rolling out the red carpet to club legends. I know that it's been touted that Peter Taylor is coming to town. Justin Whittle, Brian Hawley, a few others, and Steve Wilson, the guy who was a goalkeeper for us back in the day, who is currently the goalkeeping coach at the Louis Coyle Football Academy as well. So, keeping it all strictly legends, but they're going to have a bit of how can I put this, faff. 15 minutes before kick-off, where they're going to parade all the old boys around the pitch and put some stuff out. But yeah, they're having it as the anniversary celebrations. So just bear in mind that they're having this huge Hull City celebration against the team that's at the bottom of the league. Right, have at it, boys.
Obviously, it's the 120th anniversary, so I'm assuming the tickets are £120 a piece, yeah?
No, they've actually reduced some of the ticket prices for the tickets that are left.
Obviously they did.
I say that. What I mean is they just reduced them. They didn't sell like a shitload first and then be like, we're going to reduce the rest now. No, I think it's £15 for adults this weekend.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, not too bad.
So if you're listening and you're in the Hull area and you don't already have a ticket, get your tickets in. Get yourself down there. Get your support behind the Tigers. I've gone for a 2-0 Hull win. I've gone for a goal for Badia and Palmer. Matt, what have you got down for Hull Cardiff?
I've gone for a 2-1 Hull win. Badia and Miller. And Colwill for Cardiff.
Now, I want to double check this because obviously it's pronounced as Miller, but it's with an A. So is it not Millar?
He's not a pirate.
Oh, you tell me. You tell him that. He's the one who's spelling his name wrong.
It's the Canadian spelling, Paul. It's not the American beer spelling. It's Canadian.
Of course, it's the Canadian spelling because it's got an A in it. Eh? Right, I see. Andy,
I've just gone 1-0 for Hull, obviously.
I like it.
With Badia, however we're saying it at the moment, score.
I'm pretty sure that we keep saying Badia. And at the start of the last game, Stuart was trading with it's Badia, but we've obviously not listened to him and just given it whatever we think it is going to be. So, right, Stu, how many do you think they'll win by, and how many do you think Badia will score?
Well, given what I said, you've all been very optimistic. And unfortunately, possibly from predictions points standpoint, I've also agreed, and I've kind of got a bit of a mix of some of yours. I've gone for a Hull 2-1 win. I've got Tanner to score for Cardiff, and for Hull, I've got Palmer and Badia.
Not Badia.
No. I might have said this before, but if we'd assigned somebody called Skinner, that would have been perfect. Just have them two up front.
It'll never work. Our third game of the week sees my lot, Middlesbrough, taking on Hull City's sloppy seconds, Stoke City, from last weekend. Obviously, it's my boys, so I'll give my prediction last. So let's go to Matt for his prediction first on Middlesbrough versus Stoke City.
I have also gone for a 2-1 home win for the Borough. Conway and Latte Lath starting to form that partnership that, hopefully scores like 40 championship goals. And then Manhoof, because
To be fair, Manhoof looked great against us. He had a really good game. But every time the commentator called him his name, I laughed like a child. It's like, has he got his shorts on too tight? Manhoof.
Manhoof.
Andy?
I will Borough down to win 2-0. Latte and Dr. Zoidberg.
If you're not watching on YouTube, it's worth it just for that.
I've tickled myself.
Oh. The worst thing is that if anyone's not watched it up to this point, they're like, who the hell is that? I'll have to explain. It's Bergzorg.
It is
So,
Bergzorg. Which in itself was hilarious enough. Sorry, Mr. Bergzorg.
Depends if you do this or not, Andy, when you say it. That's it.
But then landing on the Zoidberg thing has just made it infinitely better.
I mean, you're not going to get any complaints from me. Stu?
I've also got 2-0, but unfortunately I've got different goal scorers. I've gone for Azaz. He feels well overdue, by the way. And Conway.
Overdue is an understatement. He had that free kick against Sunderland. I was just like, now would be the time to just rattle this in the top corner. Oh no, you put it in about row Z. Well done, mate. He's put it in row A to Z. Not bad. Borough got beat by Stoke 5-0 in the cup earlier in the season. I'd like to think it would be a much changed side. Having watched Stoke against Hull last week, no offence to Hull, but Stoke were abysmal
In the second half.
So, but obviously Borough massively struggling to put away their chances this season. So I'm optimistic he's gone for a 1-0, just hoping that it's beyond hope. I will take this. I've got Conway to score. I would literally take it going in off the left back's right ball sack if it flicks one of his testicle hairs, if it means that Borough can get a win in this one.
So you're picking Wilmot to score an Oggy at your end as well, then?
Oh, if you offer me it now, snap your hand off. So we continue with the games in midweek, where we see Queen's Park Rangers taking on Hull City. Obviously, Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. I've got a goal piece for Frey for QPR and Slater for Hull. Andy, what have you got down for QPR versus Hull?
I'm starting to get a bit freaked out there. My predictions up to this point have been very standard, I suppose. So this is the week to mix up. I have a 1-1 draw.
Woo!
I have Frey to score for QPR, but we're going to keep saying his name wrong until he gets a goal, and then we'll say it right. How about that, Badia?
So it turns out that we get to like February and they're like, Chris, what do you say to those people who maybe say you've not scored as many as you could have in your time at Hull? You're like, well, listen to this podcast once, and this prick kept saying my name wrong, so I thought, fuck that guy.
Which one? Hang on a second. Which one of us is the prick? Because we're all saying it wrong.
I hope that's true, and I hope he means.
Mark, what have you got down for QPR Hull?
I've also gone for a 1-1 draw. Frey and Millar.
Millar. I mean, if the whole squad just tunes into the podcast, we're all public enemy number one at this point. Stu, how do you see it panning out?
Much like Matt suggested, I feel like QPR are one of them teams where we usually beat them or they usually beat us by a margin. However, I had a bit of a flashback to a QPR home game where back in the day Mark Lynch got smashed into the advertising boards, and it was a really horrible game. So because I thought of that game, I went 1-0 QPR with Madsen to score.
I think mad as in angry and son as in young prodigy.
Well, I have it as SEN just for you spelling aficionados out there, but I will double check that for you and
That's
let
fine.
you know.
That's fine.
It's very
I'll
unusual
take
to
that.
have two players with the name very similarly spelt to each other in the same team.
And our final game of the week sees West Bromwich Albion taking on Middlesbrough, or what's known in this household as the Williams Inter-Family Rumble. It's obviously my team, therefore my prediction will come last. Stu, what have you got down for the Baggies versus the Borough?
Apologies, Paul, and you're welcome, Amy. West Bromwich Albion 1, Middlesbrough 0, with everybody's favourite Grant to score.
Matt?
I've also gone with the Brinton family leanings. 2-1 to West Brom, Maja and Mowat. Both of which I would love to hear said in a Black Country accent, because it'll be horrific. And Conway for Borough.
Andy?
I know what you're thinking. You're like, I said West Brom, not Leeds. Borough to win 3-0.
Whoa!
Andy, just I feel like we should throw him on. Right, West Brom are top of the league at the moment, having won 5 of their 6 games, and they drew the other one.
Yeah, exactly. That is the exact reason. There is no
Stu?
other reason whatsoever that I would pick this score at all. However,
Liverpool hadn't conceded a goal when they played Forest.
Yeah, but that was Forest, mate, not Borough.
What are you saying, you horrible bastard?
but this is the way. This is the way these things go. When we reconvene next week, and you're all like, he's done it. He not only did he get all 3 goals, he got all 3 goal scorers, 6 points, because he's going to get an extra point. It's an absolute thing of beauty. So I've doubled down with Latte, Dr. Zoidberg, but I've added Azaz as my 3rd goal scorer.
Latte, Bergstone, and Mr. A to Z twice over.
Lots of A's,
I like the confidence. I like the confidence from Mr. Cook. Sadly, it's not confidence that I share in my own team, as I too have gone for a 2-1 West Bromwich Albion win. Eerily similar, I too have gone for Maja and Mowat to score for the Baggies. And I also have gone for Azaz to score for the Borough. In the similar feeling of he has to score at some point. I'd hate to go through the stats this season so far of how many chances he's had, and he's either passed it straight into the keeper's bastard hands, or he's flashed it wide or over the bar. But he must be our most wasteful candidate at this particular point in the season for the Borough. But he's killing me. You are killing me, Finn. Just score some. That brings us to the end of this week's podcast, or this week's predictions. Do any of us have any other business they'd like to bring to the table?
I suppose we've potentially got that other signing on the horizon. To which both, I think we texted, didn't we, during the game on Friday night, like, where the hell has that come from? Now, they've obviously not been shy in dipping into the free agent, or they're certainly exploring the free agency market at the moment, and they've decided that they're going to try and bolster some of their attacking options, possibly. It's not like, Hull would have any links with Fenerbahce or their old players or anything, seeing as our chairman has made it very publicly known that that's his boyhood club and still loves Fenerbahce and goes to Fenerbahce whenever or wherever he can. I think, is it 32-year-old João Pedro that they're looking at? Seems quite a big name, really, for us, but I worry that last season we brought in an older striker in January and Billy Sharp for a bit of experience, and then didn't really work out. But yeah, we might have some signing news. Apparently, he's going to be at the game on Saturday against Cardiff, so we'll see what happens there.
Watch this space. See what happens. So yes, that brings us to the end, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, as always, to these three gentlemen for joining me to go through the ins, outs, ups, and downs of our respective clubs. If you're new around here, if you just stumbled across the podcast, either on YouTube or on one of your streaming services, why not think to link onto the show? Maybe subscribe, tell your friends, like, share, all that jazz. We've got many a podcast on the system. We have not just the football, we have the American football whilst that's in season. We have wrestling, of course, because everyone likes a bit of oiled up men in pants. There's the NFL. I've already covered the NFL. We have the Formula One podcast, the Apex podcast that comes out whilst the Formula One is on tap, and of course, Mr. Cook emptying that worry hole on a weekly basis on the Darkest Timeline podcast. Tune in. Thank you, as always, for coming along and listening this week. Join us again next week, where we'll break down all of our team's games and go through the ones that are yet to come. But as always, I'll sign off by saying thank you once again. Take care of yourselves, look after each other, and we will see you next week. Thank you, and goodbye for now.
There you go. What do you think to that? Another week of games gone. Another week of games to look forward to, and a bumper week of games to look forward to. Big thank you for watching. Big thank you for listening. Big thank you for being here, being a part of the football podcast that we do. Before you go, if you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and comment. If you're feeling in a really good mood, you could leave a review. And if you want to see our website, want to get in touch, you can all do it through the website, cookiecast.com, thecookiecast.com. There you'll find social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I will see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.